goes in this hill, better leave. I'ma swap at the time and that's take it from me. More G to be based on 2 days, I'm on 3, I'm gone. Palomino Patron, Cappuccino Patron, Alameda song. Stack it up, stack it up.
Yes, we're back at the pit. And as you can see, Chewbacca has aged significantly since we were last live. This guy's job has got him aging at a pace twice as fast as crypto traders, believe it or not. Great to have you back on, dude. And Jedi's here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, guys. Good to be back.
Our local foreigner, Jedi blockmates. Still traveling, or are you back home now?
Back home, got home 6 hours ago. Haven't slept for 24 hours, but still pumped to be here. Lots going on in the market, lots to talk about. Goodness gracious me.
Dude, sometimes overdrive does it for me. I operate better when it's like I haven't slept and you're just in this like weird kind of, overdrive, hyper active state. And then you crash and feel like shit for a few days. But happy to hear we caught you at the good part of that. And we have the Toastmaster Flex, possibly on his way, being very mysterious today. We're not sure if it's butter or margarine spread on that toast today, but stay tuned. We'll find out. And in the meantime, we have a potential reversal. But no, the market's been ripping higher. So frankly, as a spot holder perp sideliner, I am pretty excited to see us forming a range here. That, it just gives us more to play with. If we just go straight up, it's harder. It's worse. It's scarier.
Plus, it's Bitcoin only when it goes straight up.
That's right. And, the way it's been going right now, we've been granted a little more time to play. I'm going to go to a better chart. That's not a better chart. This probably is. Nah. But yeah, what are you guys seeing in the market? I mean, I'm mostly excited today. Okay, let's do a preview. What are we going to get into today? Today we are going to get into some on-chain meme shitcoining because that is JB's specialty. We're going to get into some of what I've been going through, I guess. I'm sure I'll rant about my life at some point, but it's been a grind right now. And then we're going to get into Solana Breakpoint. I believe Jedi was there. Were you there?
I was there last year, not this year. But I think the other topic of conversation is definitely the disparity that exists between Ethereum maxis and Solana maxis, and that interesting dynamic, and the fact that Solana has just been ripping, But it seems like it's retreating now, and obviously all the shorters are loving life. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing kicks everyone in the balls and goes straight back up again.
I don't think all the shorters are loving life on Solana. In fact, my guess is that all the shorters on Solana are not short anymore after yesterday's move. Look at this move. So, and I was in the pit just doing my thing, hopping in, hot take, Mr. Like, I'm not in a trade, so neither should you. But I saw you guys talking about this is a top signal. This is a top signal. No, that's a top signal. And I was just like, stop talking about tops. Like, stop trying to call these tops, because let's reflect. And this is the point I was trying to make. And maybe we'll talk about this, because I'm sure a lot of people are going through the psychology of like, well, I missed the long, so I'll just take the short. It's like, it's not a short, bro. But it's in these uptrends. I don't even know where you'd say it, but like, just say here, you're trying to short Solana on the way up. I did that twice actually on this particular move. If you're right and you nail it, you're like, oh, I shorted it. Like, what's your upside? Like, your downside in this case, small, versus getting on side with the trend, the big moves happen. Same thing here. Even if you nailed that short and you nailed the exit, you caught like a little move. But spotting the higher time frame trend, obviously the trend being your friend. But I know you guys play on those smaller time frames, so I dove in, and I basically just was like, look, if we could just get some bearish market structure, and then I'll talk, because I'm with you, man. Solana's hot. It's going crazy. I want to trade it, and I don't want to long it up here, so I got to short it. But I'm going to wait. I'm waiting. I'm not really looking to short it. So I guess the takeaway of my rant yesterday in the pit, which was totally out of line, but was basically just, is that the best opportunity in the market? Like, take the strongest performing asset that's in the market that's exploding and just shitting everyone's pants. All the bears are shitting themselves. All the bulls are shitting themselves because they don't own enough. I mean, when violent things happen like that, everybody's a little bit upset. Not everybody, but
no. In this market right now, the next long is going to be way more profitable than the sole short. I agree.
Yeah, and that's I was just giving you guys the grease because I came in and like everyone was talking about the top, and I was like, dude, it's just let the fun happen, you know, let the thing go up. And in a year or 2 years, ironically, no one will be talking about the top. Somehow we're going to go through this crazy transformation where we've spent so much time thinking about the top and missing out that we stop even looking for it, and then it will come. And that's another weird tell that I noticed last cycle. You know, it's really crazy. I mean, it's the psychological cycles are fascinating to observe. I don't know what your favorite part of that stuff is, guys, but having been through a couple now, I think each of us can really reflect on how powerful it is. I mean, the disbelief through this rally, I'm sure everyone's been feeling it a bit. You're so programmed to think that you can't have nice things. So when things go up, you just want to sell them and take the small, nice thing you've been granted. And then it just keeps going.
Yeah, I think for me, taking that trade was more about like psychologically exercising the muscle of like, take some profit here. You know, these are things to look for. You know, obviously it got burned and have PTSD from the last cycle. So I just want to keep those muscles fresh.
Yeah, I feel you on the PTSD. I also did a little bit of shorting. You know, I saw an interesting thing. I think it was Cold-Blooded Schiller. He put out a thing just kind of like, you know, nobody's thrilled about this. Like either they made some money, but they could have made more because they knew it was going to happen and they just berate themselves. Like you really have to be disciplined as a trader to just not, you know, to have a plan and follow it. And so you're not worried about, well, I should have done more, should have done less. It's like, no, I just did my plan. And that's so much easier to say than to do. I'm not doing it, by the way. I'm saying it. I teach it. I preach it. But I am still coming around to like rejoining that. And that's what we had Elliot on last week to talk about, you know, the psychology piece. But, you know, point is, I think here there was like this range, right? We had this range prior. So like it was right here. I did a couple of little shorts and then I was like, nope, get out of the way, get out of the way. This thing's going to go. But I didn't long. So just, you know, weirdly spot long and feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that you're still kind of figuring out what your overall plan is, like preparing for the next bull, right?
Yeah, I fucked up, dude. In the sense, not like I fucked up, like, oh no, the world's coming to an end. Like it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
You're never gonna nail. Rarely, I could say, I nailed a couple moves before, but you're never gonna nail every cycle, every bit. And this is very much going back to the Solana chart, feeling like the concept or the idea that you've missed it is just asinine. Because look at this chart. I mean, you haven't missed it. You've missed this move if you're not in it. That move happened and you weren't there, so therefore you missed it. But like the bull, the game-changing, you know, life-changing stuff, like you haven't missed it. But here's where I fucked up. And I'll share this with all you guys. And I said it too on the show. I said, you know, I feel like this ETF, all this bullishness, it's either going to come early or late. It's not just going to drop into my February window, you know, that March 2020 crash. Like it's just not going to work out perfectly. And I should have been more prepared. So we were talking about Jedi. Remember we were talking about going on TRI in November. We were like, yeah, we'll come on in November. We'll talk about what our fundamental basket looks like for next cycle so people can start to take positions through January and February. Well, that whole basket's up like 150% right now. I haven't fully formed what that basket is yet, and it's already moved pretty hard. So, yeah, in that sense, very complacent through October and September, and frankly, August. But alas,
most were.
Yeah, I think most were, and so there's some pain associated with that, but the mental gymnastics that I'm playing right now, reminding myself, is that I've got a lot of spot exposure, like a lot, and not like enough Solana, not like a ton of anything that's absolutely mooned right now. Weirdly enough, Marinade is the one that's kind of stinging me the most, just because I was so hype on it.
I remember you mentioning it.
Remember, like through this, I was really hype on Marinade. This first rally back in the summer. And then I was like, oh, look at this. And it's in the reload zone. It's going to rally higher. And it's like, and I built a fucking big position through like 5 and 6 cents. And then it broke this level. I was like, oh, this thing's going to dip into shit for a while. And I cut it, took a little loss, no big deal. But I did not keep an eye on it, reposition it. And now it's coming into chaos levels and the trade is done. But that was probably the only one that I'm like, oh, shoulda, woulda. The rest is just markets be markets. You just, you get over it. You stop beating yourself up over missing stuff. This one stings a bit. But I watched Ratatouille last night, and there was some surprising wisdom. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it was something along the lines of, if you get stuck watching what you've missed yesterday, you'll miss what's coming up ahead. Something like that. Wish I had the better quote. And it was a French guy, not an English guy, but so that actually set me straight. Kids movies have a way of setting you straight when you're a parent. So, yeah, I'm kind of over it. I actually had a really refreshing morning building watch lists, just getting back in the zone and looking for either continuation trades or reversals. What have you guys been doing?
Myself didn't really get super long in the best places, but I was pretty much able to catch the whole like meme rotation really well. So I feel like I didn't miss out a lot.
Let's talk meme coins. Give me some tickers while you go.
Bitcoin so ticker. I think the best one for me was SmurfCat.
Okay, you're going off the deep end. All right,
SmurfCat. It's not too. I mean, there's kind of like a few of them.
God. Is this one?
Let's see.
SmurfCat?
No. Market cap is way too low. It's at like 20 million right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Type in real. Real SmurfCat. So.
Oh, micro Pepe.
No. Delete.
Okay. No, don't show that one.
Space.
Still accumulating.
It's the 4 million 24-hour volume. Third one down.
Oh, yeah, that one with non-English characters, of course.
Yep.
the real alpha. Wow. Yep, that's a rip.
Yeah.
Continue. No.
Yeah, basically in that kind of accumulation zone at the bottom, there were just, I don't know, there was just a bunch of right people talking about this one, talking about let's see, what was the other one?
Nice RLZ accumulation. Like this is like textbook post-launch, chill out in the reload zone, build a position.
Oh yeah, SPX was the other main one where I was just seeing like tons of Twitter activity. Like the communities were just going insane, like with
SPX 69,100.
Yep, exactly. So this one was kind of the early leader.
Wow.
And caught this one at about like a 3x when it was breaking out. But then, was just thinking, okay, so this thing is breaking out. What can I kind of spread some chips in that hasn't broken out, and started DCing SmurfCat and some other ones. But yeah, this was kind of like the first indicator for me that, okay, this is kind of where things are moving.
So help me out here. I'm a total boomer when it comes to this stuff. Is there anything going on behind the scenes with these coins? Like when I look at them, I just picture some guy who's like whipping together a copycat smart contract and then like putting a little liquidity in and then like shilling it everywhere. Is that the crux of it, or is there
pretty much? It's
or
more.
Do they have websites and they claim that they do stuff and all that?
Yeah, they have websites, but they don't claim to do anything.
Oh,
if you claim, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so anime porn, that's good for a little bump.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, it's whatever you think you can get a bunch of people to help you to shill, you know? And so if these communities are in spaces every night coming up with like ideas to meme, that's kind of like what you're looking for. And then yeah, it's just you're looking for just volume of of like related memes on Twitter. It's essentially like leveraging engagement.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then when there's heat in the market, I guess anytime there's heat in the market and people are just feeling speculative, maybe they just made some money, they want to throw it into some dog shit. Yep. Or like, excuse my French. That's that's unnecessary condensation, condescending. Settle down, RT. Memes are part of life too. But no, yeah, like gambling. When it's gamble season. Yeah. This is why you've aged, my guy. Look at this shit.
I disagree with the idea that it's just about gambling. I think what's happening right now is that we actually are seeing very much an entrenchment of a clear and well-defined subculture that is emerging within crypto. I know that sounds kind of like all la-di-da and arty-farty, but I think that's exactly... No, that's what's going on, brother. People want memes. And I think that the whole meme thing, you think you've seen it. You think you've seen... like Pepe and all the rest of it. Let me tell you something right now. The next run, you're going to see the biggest movers and the most capital move into memes more than probably anything else. That's my take. And people who play those memes and that subculture are the ones who are going to make the most money in the next cycle, like it or not. That's what's going to happen.
Not only do I not like it, I hate it. I hate it. I disagree with you, but I've never made money on a meme coin in my life, so I can't speak to it. I'm not a good... I so strongly disagree with you, but I also bet you're right, if that makes sense.
No, because fundamentally, that you can't... Do not bet against the thing that you hate the most, because that's the one thing that's going to land up showing you for the weak mother trucker that you are. That's what's going to happen.
Look, I'll say this. There's going to be some outliers, like Pepe was one. And for the record, I've said this since the top. I just think Pepe's dead. I mean, I think it's going to do one of these. You know that chart that's like one of these, and you just see it, and then they just trend to zero. Like that's what Pepe's doing right now, and I don't think it's ever gonna. And it, maybe 2 years later it's flatlining and it goes for a little 100x and then back.
Agreed.
But that's my 2 cents on this, and that's kind of my 2 cents on all of these things. Is eventually, maybe one catches fire.
But that's the point.
That's gambling, though. That's gambling. That's my point.
You can call it whatever you want.
Art. It's not about the art.
The art is about
the art of the meme.
It is because if there isn't like a collective mindshare on and enough people agreeing on
won't work.
What's funny and what maybe is artistic or
ridiculous,
maybe is a trend or ridiculous, then you're not going to have a pump. It's like you need some sort of, there has to be some sort of creativity and like shared mind share of like, okay, like this is something that a bunch of people agree on, and it's a bunch of random people agreeing on something.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to hate the hustle, guys. Play your game, do your thing. It's not even like there's a better way to do the market or worse. I can't wrap my head around going to sleep without a stop loss on any kind of coin like that. Although I should start doing things like listening to Chewbacca, throwing 1 ETH at a name, noticing the next day it's worth 4 ETH, taking my ETH back. Like that's a rotation game I could fuck with. But
yeah, I mean, that's what I've been
doing. Overwhelming, I guess, is the underlying reason for it. For me, it's just like there's too much and I don't get it and it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Boomer.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have like a good pulse where you have an idea of like, okay, this is garbage and this is something good,
or if you just don't have a pulse. the last 3 months when it comes to like hot off the press new alpha, like the latest buzz, I don't have a pulse. I don't want to go back to like making any excuses, but I got 3 fucking babies. Let me tell you, my guy, 2 of them are very sick. The twins have been very sick. They're better now, thank God, but they were very sick. They were in the hospital once, just feverish coughs. Like when you're that age, it's pretty scary. And so like my house has been sick for like a month and a half. So not excuses, but like there's reasons why I'm just like low energy and not getting too creative, and why I missed all this stuff. I was also sports betting. I was like on vacation mode for a bit, but like,
you know what, RT, just coming back to, like just managing life in general. I think just one of the first questions you asked at the beginning of our stream is, what are you doing? What are you actually focusing on in terms of, the fundamentals and the foundation that you set in order to go into battle? I think that's what this is really all about. And I think the good news is that you can still do what you need to do and do really well in this market and still have kids if you do the one thing that I think we all do it and we make the mistake, is that we forget where our conviction lies. And it comes down to what is my conviction going into the next cycle, and what are the reasons why I would choose, for example, something like Injective. So for me, like, I think Injective is like one of those plays that is literally a no-brainer. That thing, in my mind, could easily just completely that thing could easily go to $1,000, and people laugh. It's sitting at $15 right now. I truly believe it could go to $1,000. Why? Because if you go and look at the size of that ecosystem and what it is that they're doing, it's not unlike Ethereum. It's not unlike Solana. It's not unlike an ecosystem that has all the bells and whistles, all the pulleys and levers to make it its own monster. Now, if that is a high conviction play and you have a thesis behind something, fucking put it on your list, start accumulating, wait for it to fucking run, open monster long, sit back, enjoy the cycle, sell at the right time, and Bob's your granny. You've done your job. And find 10 of those, find 10 of those that exist now, save some money for 5 others that no one knows about that will come and will do 100x and 1000x's. And that's the strategy. And you don't really need to sit there and fucking lose your mind for 18 hours a day. Just follow the right people, speak to the right people, get the intel, put your plan in place, get your conviction in order, and there you go. That's the way I see it, as like a medium and a long-term solution to how to play the next cycle.
Yeah, I think what you're saying also is like you can invest in what you like and you can still crush it.
On that note, I have been talking a lot lately about becoming more of an investor, less of a trader. This is, quick psychology lesson for those of y'all who didn't take intro psych. Cognitive dissonance is really the source of stress, right? It's here's your reality, here's your expectation, and the gap between those is where stress exists. If you get exactly what you expect, even if it's a shitty thing, it won't be very stressful. If you're like, this coin's going to rug, and then it rugs, you're like, I knew it. But if you thought this thing was going to be the next 1000x and it rugs, that's extraordinarily stressful. Just like if I'm coming to the computer each day expecting to perform or have the mind share, because I didn't have a lot to focus on last cycle. Midway through I had a baby, but like, especially 2020, it was just all crypto. It was like 13, 14 hours a day. And you can build such deep understandings when you go that deep in, and all you think about all day is this. You see connections in that. My struggle lately has been just coming in for an hour or two, and then I got to go out and do something, and then come back for an hour or two, go do something. And then, so that's very surface level. It's very hard to sift through. In fact, I spend, in those cases, 70% of the time at the computer just catching up on chats, like responding to messages, returning emails. It takes about 3 to 4 hours at the desk for me in that third and fourth hour to sort of sift through and get into it. So my point being is that's my new reality, and I need to reset my expectations to match that, which means probably not trading at the capacity that I was last time. And that's okay, because I still think I can make an absolute killing playing midterm rotation strategies, games, which, if you ask me last cycle, well, where'd you make the most money, RT? Like, it was rotating into things on a midterm time frame and just sitting back and watching them move. It wasn't the scalps. It wasn't the catch every move.
Yeah.
And so but I have to really get serious about resetting that in my trading plan. And then I think what's painful about that realization is that at this exact moment, we're kind of midway through a midterm swing. So there's not a lot of positions I can take right now. And so some of it is just watching this stuff play out. There might be a continuation trade coming up here soon. Similar to what we've seen, if you want to go back to the charts, we'll look at INJ. A lot of coins just did this. And so there is the potential for us to now get something like this, whereas we then get that next continuation trade, whenever that is. Like that kind of, so INJ has done the continuation now, or is mid continuation right now, coming into that fib extension. But most of the market, a lot of what I'm seeing is actually just this, just coming out of these troughs here. So probably some chop here for a little bit if I'm lucky, if I get what I need, and then we'll find some nice setups that, you know. So yeah.
Just kind of speaking to your point about, you know, like crypto just goes so deep, and if you really want to have conviction on like really low cap stuff that over really short time frames, it's like you really need to be so far in the weeds.
So far, dude.
Kind of, and
that's deep, man.
Oh, here's another thing I noticed that fucked me up. So at the fund, we've hired analysts. We've had a few of them on the show before, like guys that are just in the weeds, doing the research, sharing it with me. I've got sources like Blockmate's material that I like to read, and I read through it. But because I'm not doing the same primary research that I used to, I lack conviction in the ideas that I'm getting, right? So you're flooded with ideas, even paying people to come up with these ideas for you. But then what are you going to put your hard-earned money at risk on that coin? And then, you know, maybe their conviction changes and you didn't get the memo. Like, I'm starting to realize, and that's what I did this morning. I sat down and I just like music on and I zoned in. I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to dive into this shit myself again for old time's sake. Because as nice as it is to have all those eyeballs in the market, they can give you whatever they want, but you're not going to act on it the same way as if you found it.
Yep.
So that's another realization I've had.
The thing is that you can also land up being in a situation where it's paralysis by analysis. And I struggle with that. That's my big challenge, is because, you know, we are inundated with so much research and so much information and so many ideas. It's difficult to kind of like, in many ways it's easy because you get to see the exceptional ones, but then when you have a lot of really good ones and not so many exceptional ones, then it's difficult to kind of like break beyond, say, 5 or 6 protocols. And I don't want to just focus on 5 or 6. I think I'm comfortable with between 10 to 15. Some people like 5 to 10. Some people like 20 to 30. You know, you got some autistic freaks out there who would love 20. You know, so it just depends on what you're comfortable with. But too much information is also not a good thing. So you've got to find the balance for yourself. What do you look for in a protocol? I'm just curious, Chewbacca, what is your process of elimination, selection, call it what you want, around kind of like finding the right memes? Is it more about community and being plugged into those individuals or the right individuals, or is it something that you do on your own, or is it a combination of getting the right info?
It's a combination, and actually Friendtech really helped me out in the sense of finding some really good, just really good people that share ideas, and that are just more open with their ideas than they have been on Twitter. And it was really funny. I never thought I would actually get value out of Friendtech. I was just farming it for the airdrop, but that was really interesting. And yeah, it got me kind of plugged into certain communities. So, for example, you know, didn't catch any of the Milady pump, but you know, Milady money is pretty much what fueled the whole Harry Potter thing. And then now you have the Harry Potter money, these Sprotos, kind of dictating the market in a way. And so you kind of like understand which communities are like dictating, you know, certain things. And then, you know, you just want to stay plugged in to those communities and have like a good pulse on like, you know, who's grifting, you know, who's not. So it's kind of been more trying to like just establish good relationships with communities or community members that are doing well. It's a totally relationships thing.
Cool. That's very useful information. Once again, in the weeds, getting down. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's this one kind of meta that I've seen in like several different communities that's been that coach actually just posted in the chat. And if it makes you like literally laugh out loud at how stupid it is, then you buy it. So obviously the first time people saw Harry Potter, you bought that. SPX.
So stupid.
Yeah. It has to be like shocking that you would laugh at it. And so SPX really fit that vibe too, because the whole vibe to SPX is that we're fitting the entire S&P onto the blockchain. That's the whole idea.
Brilliantly stupid.
Of that. Yeah, of that.
I get that. We lost Jedi, by the way, but we're gonna try to get him back. That's an interesting metric. So it's like, how hard did you laugh? How absurd is it? Let me see if I can find one. I had an old,
a bunch of copycats that are kind of like spin-offs of the same meme concept. They're not really going to
like
make you laugh
ticker Ethereum.
Yeah,
would that be an example? Yeah.
So it's like it's not.
Here's one. Old shitter. An old friend of ours actually on the show shared with me. I won't name names, but
Jedi, we get your face now.
U.S. debt. I don't know what it does, but I do know that U.S. debt only goes up.
Yeah.
This one was shared with me like right here, and I dicked around and didn't. I said I don't have a free position on it. I haven't touched it actually, but it's like it's one little meme coin that somebody like kind of dripped in my ear. I was like, okay, U.S. debt. It's kind of funny.
That instantly checks that box for me. It's like kind of a novel idea. It's hilarious.
And then APX is one I actually hold. Hxro PepeX, which it may never end up being cool because I don't know that there's anyone actively behind it. I don't even know if they have a website. But this was like that. The one. It's Croissant on Twitter. He posted a thread about how he like made it with like the AI bot. And it was like the first fully AI created meme coin with like whatever it was, like 2 ETH and then the entire supply just stuffed in there with it, and now it's just free in the wild. So I feel like this one could.
And the chart looks good.
Your chart looks great. I mean, I bought it early, like probably here or here, and then I think I added once down here. I'm tempted to just add like building up to maybe 5 ETH total average entry in this trough, because if I want to get out of there, like my double, holy shit, like I don't even have to leave the reload zone and I've got a free position.
Yep.
Right. If I just take half that back, I could have my 5 ETH back, and then for the whole cycle, if this thing goes bananas next spring, which is when they tend to go crazy, it'd be kind of cool. Hxro PepeX. I don't know. So yeah, I won't pretend I don't fuck with these things. I just have never caught one that goes moon.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the short answer of what are you looking for? Like a novel idea, like the US debt, great idea. This one, not for me.
You don't like the US, like it's a cool idea, but it's not gonna have the meme culture.
Yeah, it doesn't have it's not gonna build any culture around US debt for sure.
Yeah, I think US debt could have a cool little maneuver. Don't have any of this. Maybe I should be buying it. Shill before fill. Damn it. Small liquidity, so maybe just 1 ETH. We'll see. Probably going to talk about it and then forget and not do it. Hey, Jedi's back. Welcome, man. And you got your hat and you got your camera. Were you mobile and now you're home?
No, I was home, but my wife landed up hijacking the space that I'm in right now. So she didn't know I was on stream, and I forgot to tell her. So I mean, it's fine.
Nice. Well, it's great to see your face, dude. Your smile is infectious, by the way. And I've missed it. Now, let's talk about Ethereum, the heaviest stone dinosaur.
The worst coin in the history of coins.
Worst coin in
Ethereum is so bad. Why wouldn't you just own Solana?
Yeah.
Why? Just hang on a second. I really need to. I need to actually have a little bit of commentary around this whole debate.
All right, quit talking about me.
Ah, there he is, buttered up and ready to go. Bath. We were just getting into Solana versus.
Yeah, we're just saying how bad Ethereum was and like what a waste of a coin it is. You know.
Yeah. Jedi was going to lay some heat.
Yeah, the heat is very simple. Why is it that people have to pick a side here when we can make money
really
on
emotional about
I don't understand.
Digital
it just blows my mind how people like want to fight over the fact that Solana shit or Ethereum shit. It's like, dude, I'm making money on both. Like, why wouldn't you? You know,
people are so emotional about their.
I think it goes back to what. Yeah, it's back to what JB was saying about the memes. It's like culture and community. Like you literally drop like a .eth after your name. You build your identity around a thing. And then this other thing comes along that's moving pretty quick, and it's got lower fees, and it's got a ton of dev power, and it's mooning, and you get very uncomfortable.
You don't have a bag.
Yeah.
And you don't get a bag because your homies told you it's not the next Ethereum.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude, I'm holding Solana.
You get sidelined.
Cash in my wallet, so you boys up.
The weird thing is, anyone who would ask, I would tell them Solana. They'd be like, "Oh, next cycle, like because friends and that, you're not going to tell them about shit coins. It might go up and down. Like, I want to tell them something that'll be around and that'll outperform Bitcoin." And so I kept telling people Solana. My Solana allocation is embarrassingly small percentage wise. It's a decent little bag, but it's like where my conviction versus my positioning was just so not okay.
Doesn't Solana
I probably hold as much Ethereum right now, just having like 10 here, 10 there, like for gas and memes and bullshit.
Or does it not? What's the Solana inflation rate?
It's high. It's
like
pretty high,
but high.
No, yeah, I heard there's like a good amount of Solana printed each month to like pay validators that then like presumably sell it. So like, yeah, there's a decent amount of like ongoing forever sell pressure.
Dude, last cycle we fell so far from like 21 million or thereabouts. Like it just got up to like billions of coins for some of these tickers. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of max supplies and dwindling supplies when it comes to things that you're thinking like, where are we going to be in 5 years? I think AVAX is an example of what can happen when, like there's a lot of charts right now that have long since bottomed and are building bases and maybe even coming up off those. And AVAX is just making new lows. It's definitely looking better here with the buyers kind of stepping in on the volume and the sellers drying up. So it's probably going to have a good run. And all of this space is black negative space available to be played in. But I feel like this is inflationary. Like this chart pattern is just a reflection of that inflation.
Yeah. I wonder, is there ever an opportunity? And I think sushi is another very good example. I mean, just do yourself a favor and look at the sushi fucking
I
chart.
know. We just booked a double at the fund yesterday.
Talk about a meme pump.
Like,
holy shit, it's up so high.
I know, relatively speaking, but then you see this on the day.
I've never seen such a pump.
Oh my god!
But it zoomed in. No, but wait. Look at the 5 minute. No, it actually had an absolute rip.
Yeah, it's like a 50% candle, right?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing, and it's a lesser known fact about sushi, is that the inflationary pain that this thing has imposed upon itself is huge. I mean, and it's a problem because that pump is definitely not sustainable, or is it? Obviously in a retail,
no, it won't fully retrace.
It is. No way.
It's definitely not going to
stay up
right where it started.
It's going to keep going.
What's going on with sushi? They had some shift. This is a catalyst driven thing. What was the thing?
Well, they lost obviously some key players. They replaced the CEO, who some people seem to think has done a really good job in terms of, finding an even kill on the ship, and it seems like he has, despite kind of like a raucous thing around horses and having relations with horses and stuff like that, which is really amusing at the time. But it seems like he's delivered, based on some market commentators that I respect. And the biggest problem, however, still remains around sushi and its inflationary dynamics. Now, the question that I wanted to ask when we were looking at AVAX is, do protocols ever get an opportunity to go back and relook at their tokenomics and say, listen, we, in light
Luna
of,
did.
like, let's rework this thing and burn 90% of our supply? And, do they get to do that? Do they get to do an Ethereum? I'm just wondering whether that's the future of these kind of protocols that have kind of like almost run out of steam in many ways, and how that might look like in the future. I would encourage them to do that, but who knows? I mean, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
I was shocked to learn. I never actually got into it until late last cycle, but like tokenomics, and inflation. And I was shocked to learn how inflationary ETH was until EIP, what was it, 1559 or some shit? And there's a lot of ETH out there. I think the first experiment on reversing course on just being turbo inflationary is ETH. So I don't think we have any settled science on like if that works out.
Well, there's an interesting piece when you have high inflation. It can go both ways in the sense that during a downtrend, you're anticipating future downward motion in price, so you're taking all your yield and you're insta dumping it. Maybe even have a bot set up to just like get it out of here, farm and dump. But when you're in a strong uptrend, when the market is bullish, that very quickly can turn into a farm and hold. And so that yield gets held, and then all of a sudden this inflation disappears. Not that it's not happening, it's just not being sold. So it can lead to like
chicken.
It just kind of creates added volatility. And in AVAX's case, they already burn all of their fees. So they've had an EIP 1559 baked in from the start, but the fees are less. And the inflation, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's fairly high. And they need that. At least that's why they have it. They say they need that to properly incentivize the validators on the network.
I think that's why ETH was super, like, people shit on ETH so much. It's insane. But like, I think ETH was, Vitalik's smart in the way that it was built, which is like, yeah, okay, maybe we will suffer some high fees in the short term. But if you look at the way that this goes narratively, right? We have fees you don't care about at first. The network becomes popular. Then we have fees you do care about. So now we push to L2s where they are batching tons of transactions on a very popular network, which, even if the fees are high, that they're high for ARB, they're high for, layers that are settling to Ethereum. And so that, and then you have EIP 1559. It's like, okay, well, we still have huge transaction volume. Whereas with AVAX, it's so cheap that like, go ahead, burn. Like you're not going to burn nearly enough for how much you're inflating, It's not popular enough.
Just the funny thing is that a tweet just came through that popped up on my alerts. I just linked it in private chat. Just open it quickly, RT. It just really speaks to, what it is that we're talking about, but more importantly around unlocks and, part of that inflationary thing where, the current epoch ends in 9 hours from now for Solana. So meaning that those who want to unstake to take advantage of the recent repair will be able to sell their tokens. I mean, if you are long right now and you ain't beating this.
Well, is this not how it goes though? Right. You get the crazy, like build up hype. And then you get the thread doers coming in saying, but wait, there's a scam afoot. This could be totally bad. There's more inflation and unlocks coming. And then, and then we trend back down, and people that thought it was going to 100, now they think it's going to 8 and they don't buy
usually
it.
A short squeeze at the tail end of those. Like OP had a little one after their unlock.
Blur also just pumped into the unlock, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, I mean, and that's not to say TED Talks Macro. He is one of my macro homies that I like to watch and follow. Yeah, he's really sharp. But it's just fascinating that, and it's like human nature. It's like, hey, here's a bet everyone's making. I'll take the other side. And so you get the ebb and flow. Like this is interesting. We know FTX is selling their Solana. They better be at this point. As a creditor, I would hope that they're doing me a service and selling some of that bag right now through this hype. But to put it all together in this nice little tweet, yeah, that's going to be a very compelling sell case for anyone who's already in profit. I am in that weird place where you feel underexposed the whole way up. So you're not really thinking about when you're going to sell. You're just like, well, I can't possibly sell. What if I got, so we have this candle today. I told you yesterday in the pit,
Yeah.
JB, I was like, if we can get some kind of like thing like this, and then we M out, and then like any kind of, and then like if there was a short there, if there's a reason for me to sell, it would have to be a setup.
I want
to
ask the question that was asked and posed as the title of the stream, and that is Solana and this rip that it's currently experiencing, and obviously this wonderful buoyancy that we're seeing in the crypto market at the moment, are we seeing kind of like a pre-bull now? I mean, what are your thoughts around that? Jubaka, you first, then Colin, and then the toast. I'd love to hear your thoughts around this. Or do you think we're in a circumstantial scenario where people are just bored and they want to do something? Where do you think we're at the moment? Because I personally am struggling with answering that question. That's why I want you guys to go first.
It's tough, and I watched. I think it was a recent stream with one of the last streams with RT and Toast here, where Toast didn't think it was the bull market because just wasn't into like the meat of the up only stage. But for certain sectors like memes, it's been a bull market. You could not right now, but a week ago you could literally, like, I posted whatever.
You can't say it's been a bull market and be like, but like a week ago, not now. That's not a bull market.
Things cool off. Like sectors top even in a bull market. Like
but bull markets last years. Like they don't last a couple of months or a few weeks.
A week, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
We got to define our terms, boys, because I think three of us trade on different time frames.
Could just be both right, and
like I mean, you can have like a mini sector that just moons throughout a bull and then just cools off for a while.
I think in crypto we've been conditioned to 4-year cycles where half of that cycle is a bull market, and thereby we think of bull markets as being roughly 2 years. That's just how
Yeah, but you know what? And yes, looking back, you could say 2020, 2021 were bull markets. But the first half of 2020 was boring and quiet. You could make some money. I remember trading. It was very like gradually, then suddenly. And then we had DeFi summer. Then we had a pretty shitty end to the year. And then we had the big run up into like the May 2021 China ban, and then it was a terrible like June, July. And then the finale rip. So like
starting from the third halving, it's a parabolic curve. Like there is no maybe it wasn't as fast at first, but on a log scale, it's even more of a diagonal.
Let's look at the log.
So
it is a log.
Before you go into the log, so Jubaka, do you believe that this
has felt like the beginning of a bull market to me?
Great. Okay, RT, your thoughts quickly around whether you feel like we're shifting here and there's something going on, or do you think it's just boredom?
Yeah, here's my struggle and then my answer. My struggle is that it doesn't fit. It does not fit what I had anticipated, what I would expect to see, so that's my struggle. But my answer is to stop overthinking it, stop trying to outsmart it, and certainly shake my current psychological propensity towards disbelief, which is absolutely where I am stuck right now, and follow my plan. And even though my plan is not fully formed, and like we talked about earlier, I don't have that full basket positioned, I wrote it right here on the chart. I said, I think we're going to go down here, and I think that's where I want to load up. But I'm invalidated if we trade above here in earnest, and we just closed a fat weekly well above there. And so I have to now position myself aggressively in a spot sense, not just at any old high on any old coin, but I'm 100% looking for dips to buy. I am not changing my tune when the dips come and saying, oh, I guess it's a bear. Like I have to maintain that conviction through a dip. And it's just going to be what it's going to be. And if it all turns out to be the big scary scam pump that we all thought because we're stuck in disbelief and we're so bear PTSD,
you got stop losses.
Then you got stop losses, or you just get wrecked again and you take another 15-20% portfolio haircut and you go back to your stables and you lick your wounds and you let the consolidation play out and you position for the next one, which to me is more like an April, May type of thing.
All right, no stops.
I still think April, May is when I want to see the Bitcoin bull happen, and it's happening already.
Yeah.
You heard our chief first,
Toasty,
no stops.
Toasty, your thoughts, please.
You know, I felt the pull of wanting to just long only mode, like stop fighting it, because I'm still like 50% long, 50% short in most of the time. And I've seen bears capitulate on timeline in like crazy fashion over the last like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I happened to catch some podcasts not related to this, some books I'm listening to where this theme kept coming up, which is that like the law of averages dictates that if 99% of the market is on one side, that 99% of the market loses. So that's when you should really be careful. That's like the height of when it's dangerous. And then I looked at BTC on the monthly. Pull up the monthly, RT.
Oh dear God. Okay. Go find it.
I think it's going to look pretty good, personally.
No, the weekly looks good. The monthly, not so much. So draw me a line.
Monthly just printed a fat W.
What
Oh,
do you mean? Oh, okay. So you're saying. So it just deviated a pretty important monthly level, as far as I'm aware.
Right
we just fell back below it. So
yeah.
Resistance. We went above it, and now we just fell back below it. Then we went back below Monday's high, and it just had me remembering, like, if 99% of the market is postured one way, that's probably not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I have one last shred of more bearish bias. Also, over the last couple of months, I had this bet. I have this bet with the MG. I expected a 40% correction, but then I started thinking, like, well, if we're at 25 and we get a 40% correction, like that's practically new lows. Like, do I think that's going to happen? Not really. I don't really think we're going to get to like 12. I don't think Capo's right. But 40% fall from 36, 40 starts to make a lot more sense.
In one day, though, wasn't that the bet?
Yeah, in a 24-hour period.
Okay. Not today, hopefully.
No, I don't think so.
I need time to digest this new information.
Those things have been sticking in my mind. I definitely don't think that we're in up only like post-halving mode. I think I strictly reserve that for halving. And I don't think there's any cycles you can find where we started this early before the halving and never got like a major correction, dastardly correction. So, yeah,
I started to worry about this idea. If like we're thinking in terms of waves, that this was kind of like your 1, 2, and then maybe we're gonna get the big one, the 3, and then like a thing, and then that was your high, kind of like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's like an A, B, C.
I think it's possible we could push up in this because it's a fresh.
That's a monthly though, so don't pay attention to that. I never chart monthlies.
Think about
I don't think you should.
In a monthly chart, we could push all the way to 40 in this month or more and fall back down to close the monthly below that monthly resistance, and then there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm not ruling.
I will first to just tell you that I will never chart the monthly in crypto. It's just too big of a thing. I mean, having a monthly level across your chart while you look at another level, maybe, but I've never even done that. But like, I would give you that, but I can't chart monthlies because too much happens in a month. I'd be like charting an S&P on the yearly. It would be the equivalent.
Go back to the monthly real quick because I'll show. It gave you a pretty nice signal, didn't it? Right.
Whatever signal you get on the monthly, you got 3 weeks earlier on another time frame. Though. That's all I'm saying. So you're just late to everything. That's my 2 cents.
All right.
Like you got a bearish confirmation, here. Thanks for the heads up, monthly.
Yeah.
You got your bullish confirmation here. That's pretty strong. But again, that was pretty much confirmed on weeklies 2 weeks in advance. And then you really didn't get any market structure until the close 2 days ago. That was the only time you got a low, a high, a higher low, and then your higher high. So if you're charting the monthly, like your bullish breakout happened 2 days ago.
Yeah. No, it
kind of missed the move, didn't you?
I mean, Don Alt has been talking about the monthly the whole time. That's how he got into current positioning.
I'm not saying no one should ever talk about it. I always just kind of circle back to like, do whatever makes you money. There's just too much happening in too many ways, like too quickly. I don't know. I've never found any juice coming from the MF. Like anytime I see something good on the monthly, I'm like, cool. But the weekly gave me the heads up. Like the alpha is in being.
If you go to the weekly, like it would seem as if we're in the bull market range.
Yeah, the weekly. That's a nice view. Speaking of Don Alt, I think somebody posted that in the pit the other day, and I drew it on my chart, and I like it. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead, Jedi, while I draw up this little weekly range.
So as you guys know, I've been very bearish for a very long time. I mean,
you went full.
You were really bearish, like depressing. Yeah. Like I had to like call you one time just to like, bro.
You did.
Yeah, you don't just gently cross into bull mode. You fucking come out guns a-blazing.
So I'm pretty much there now. Like for me, like I'm very bullish. And the reason why I'm bullish, you guys have got your charts. I very much rely on my sentiment, on movements. What movements? Namely capital movements, because I'm following a lot of stuff, whether it's wallet trackers, Twitter accounts that basically notify around capital movements in and out of exchanges, on chain, and between certain wallets. That's kind of like what I rely on. And right now, based on just the sentiment around the movement of capital, it really does feel like a pre-bull vibe. There's a lot of capital that's moving. There's a lot of big longs. There's a lot of big shorts that we haven't seen being executed on in a very, very long time. And I'm talking about longs and shorts that extend beyond $3.5–4 million. And there's a lot of those that are currently in motion at the moment. And I think that irrespective of so just Toasty, coming back to the way that you're perceiving things right now, I think it's very healthy to be skeptical around kind of like this 50-50 thing, because I think we are in that territory. But I think ultimately I am finding, even within myself and the PTSD that I've kind of like put a little bit on the shelf, is that I've been predominantly long. I've had a couple of shorts over the last 2 weeks, but they've been very short term, whereas my longs have obviously been long term. My Solana long has been going for several months. I mean, this is something that we called in Blockmates months ago when it was at like $16.50. That was when I started my journey with this thing. And I closed it yesterday at 40 because that was my goal. That was my plan. Best trade of the year.
Great trade, dude.
Dude, that was a sick trade. Now it's like, even like with the other ones that I've got going, I don't like go to bed and like worry about them. I've got my stops cool, but I don't like worry about them. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's underwater. I don't feel like, fuck, if I'm underwater, it's going to stay there and I'm going to like suffocate, And I think a lot of people are experiencing that. And as soon as you get that hive mind thing going, I think we're going to transition into a more bullish environment where everyone is starting to feel that way. There's a lot of PTSD at the moment. You see guys buying on chain and they sell with 15% fucking profit. Big fucking whoopee, dude. You have to make 15% or you have to do 15x. Make up your mind.
I don't think that this PTSD meme is helpful. Like if I'm in a fucking bank and there's a soldier next to me and he's like, yo, this guy that just walked in, he's loaded. I'm going to circle around and be like, you just got fucking PTSD, dude. You need to chill out. Like, no, I'm going to listen to him because he's been through a lot of shit. Like he knows probably what he's talking about.
All right. Here's
clouds all the judgment.
Real
here's
quick,
what I want to say.
Respond to,
go ahead,
respond
JB.
to that mentality. I'm there as well, and I agree. I think a lot of other like long-term spot allocators are there as well. As I'm buying bags, and I don't give a shit if they go down another 50–60%. I'm just holding them, and I think a lot of people are thinking like that now.
Yeah, here's what I want to just
chart the recent high on that, RT.
This is a good time for us to zoom out. 1 sec. 142. I'm just putting together my thesis, because this is what I tell people, like my personal trainer, when we chat and he asks me about crypto, and I just try to give him like my higher time frame thoughts. And
Whoa,
so
are those actual companies that make products people use?
yeah,
Imagine that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
imagine. I know. You shut your toasty mouth. Okay, let me just give me a deck. Okay. Okay. So first of all, looking at this chart, does it look bullish or bearish? I mean, it looks very bullish. We
it
have
just broke out.
we have W's. It just broke out. This is your total
Yeah.
market cap valuation. And then when my trainer asked me, he says, well, do you think it still has room to go up? And when I respond to people who are typically like, that more retail crowd who pay attention to some stocks and they get a little dabble in their indexes, maybe they trade a little bit. And I say, look, crypto is a global asset class. There is thousands and thousands of developers, top talents around the world that are, coming over to these things, building these things. They have some, there's definitely some bullshit and some fluff, some founders that are like, I'll just go to crypto, 2 mil and whatever. Obviously. But behind that, there's a massive crowd and it's growing exponentially year over year of talent coming over here because they see the potential of some of these products, some of these things. And you mean to tell me that the value of all of these things put together, and not even the real value, because the liquidity barely exists to support the $1 trillion or whatever. So I would argue it's even less than what this shows, which is 1.26 trillion. All that put together, all those countries, all those projects, all those developers, whatever, is worth less than one stock in one country. And then that's the case for many stocks. There's 2 that I've pulled up here. I don't know how many there are that are above $1 trillion, but even Nvidia is just under crypto's total cap. And that just doesn't make sense to me. And that's probably all you guys would agree, like the thesis of why we stick around through the bear. And people are like, you're not truly bearish because you wouldn't even be here if you didn't think the shit was going much, much higher sometime soon. You might be midterm bearish. You want to preserve some capital, make some money on the way down. But we're all here because we see this as an emerging asset class. And so when we break above the range that we broke above on Bitcoin right here, and when we see a breakout on the total market capitalization, yes, I'm bullish. I'm back in. I'm very quick to shift that. And if that means getting caught offside, and again, it doesn't mean rushing to buy everything as it's pumping, because, I never do that. But like pump chaser zones, pullbacks, if we get a pullback, it could just be right here. Could be a little bit lower.
RT, you'd be proud. I used the TRI Black Magic to get into some setups this past week.
Nice.
So
I wish you shared those with me.
I did share them in the pit, and then Hysterex told me that's not really, and I was like, "What the fuck? This is all the things
you guys love the banter." You and what's his name?
Everything that you say always, and you're telling me no.
No, my way. So that's
so
my 2 cents. I just look at the valuation of this entire thing, and as soon as I, in this case, catch myself being wrong, trying to like wait a little too long. Fully understanding that this could be some bullshit. Like we could entertain the other case, which is, we have the anticipation of this ETF that's going to drive this up. And in the absence of that approval, or until that approval, we could be sideways and down, or we could rally into it and then quite a bit of sideways and down after that through the halvening window, and we quiet down a bit and then go for it. That's kind of what I want, probably.
Yeah, I think the ETF approval makes a great short-term catalyst for a top,
like
and then
the end of the party.
And then we get some crazy pre-halving or around the halving nuke that Toast is talking about. So.
Yeah, I'd still like to see that. I really would. I'd love, like, I'm most positioned for that, or I would, that then it would make sense to me. Right now, it's like caught me a little off guard. It doesn't make sense, but the time of the year does tell me that it just, I don't know. It'd be so weird if we just went straight into a rip-roaring bull. But because I think that someday we will, and I don't want to miss it, I'm willing to take the risk and just, start buying as if we are heading into the rip-roaring bull right now.
One of the things that has me caught up is that, like, I want to be positioned BTC almost exclusively for the first part of the cycle. But the part that's tricky for me is that if I buy here, right, like do I believe that BTC is going to do, what did it do? It did 3,800 to like 69K. So it did almost like a 20x. Do I believe that that's going to be a 20x again? No, like
not even close.
26.8x,
right? Like, so
yeah, we're gonna get like a 3 or 4x. You know,
right. So what I'm saying is that like, fuck, man, if
I think we go much higher than that, but yeah, continue.
Maybe
if I loaded up BTC now, got into my leverage lending and all that, and then we crash, and I'm stuck with like 36K bags going towards like 150 max, and fucking I could have gotten 20, you know, that would really piss me off.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin's a nice stone to sit in. It's a nice vehicle to be on board, but it's certainly not where I plan to revisit portfolio all-time highs. I'll tell you this though, I think it's going to go way higher than most of us think. Like, and that goes for most of this market. I think even the most staunch bulls are going to be shocked by where we end up this coming 2 to 5 to 10 years. I think a lot of people, I would say the majority of people are going to make great money and then they're going to miss out.
Well, let's speak strictly about the next cycle, right? Like, forget 5 to 10 years, like over the next 4 years, where do you think it gets to?
I'm going to piss off a lot of people by saying this, but I think we're about to break out this 4-year cycle. I think that's the infancy phase, and I think we're about to break into a much more sustained bid adoption phase. That's what fundamentally it looks like to me.
Huh? Yeah.
Not in all the altcoins, certainly not in the meme shit coins, but I'm talking about like things like Bitcoin. Look at the profile of entity that we are expecting to drive this thing up, right? When you talk about BlackRock,
going to correlate, it's going to be leveraged S&P more than ever after this cycle.
Do you think so though? Because I don't think so. Gold is not correlated to the S&P.
Definitely. What? You don't think so? If BlackRock fucking ends up owning a bunch of mining companies and like ETF and all that shit?
Yeah, no. Bitcoin is actually shown over time to not be correlated to the S&P. I think in the last 2 years we saw a lot of it.
Larry Fink was involved.
Okay. I think it's attractive to investment bankers precisely because it is not correlated to the S&P, similar to gold. I think right now it is seen as a risk asset, and it's heading into a risk off asset.
I think gold isn't correlated anymore because it already had its run.
All right, I'm going to compare XAU, SPX, and BTC, and let's just see how that's tracked over the last.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I really do. I buy into the Bitcoin store of value narrative, the limited supply. Like we hear about it year over year, and then we go through these cycles, and so we get kind of complacent to that idea, or maybe we just start kind of rolling our eyes like, oh yeah, the institutions are coming, store of value, inflation hedge, and because it hasn't happened yet in its fullest form, it's very easy to kind of scoff at it and say like that's stupid. We've been lied to about that for years. It's just in its infancy. It's just happening. The UK announced yesterday they're going to come in and regulate crypto next year. People see that as bearish. Some people see that as bullish. I see that as adoption of it coming in to take its place as a global reserve currency, not necessarily reserve currency, but like store of value asset, where in 10 years, 20 years, your basic 60-40, whatever portfolio, your standard portfolio has Bitcoin in it through one of these 10 ETFs that are going to exist. Already a bunch that do exist. And that's just the paradigm that I see coming. So yeah, 3 to 5 to 10 years. I mean, okay, maybe it's going to have some 4-year cycles throughout. Certainly it's going to dip along the way, but I think it's going to blow a lot of people's fucking minds. Like even people that are like, yeah, Bitcoin's the future, it's going way up. I think they're going to shit their pants when they sell at 300,000-400,000.
I gotta be honest, I don't
see
think
it go to 3 million.
I don't think Bitcoin ever goes to 3 million.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay.
Not ever.
Thomas Lee said it's going to 10 million by the end of our generation's investment window. And I think Tom Lee has done more research than this toast.
That's probable. He definitely seems like he's in it. But yeah, I don't know if Bitcoin ever goes to 500K, much less 3 million.
What would be, I guess, just out of curiosity, because who fucking knows? But what would be your thesis for like it could go there, but no higher? What happens to it that it just never goes higher than that? What is it? Is it inflationary?
If you pull up a log regression of Bitcoin and you kind of see that like we're already at sort of the flattening of the curve.
The big like curve that never goes higher.
Yeah,
but doesn't like a 1-inch move at the top of that represent like a 15-inch move at the bottom? So it doesn't actually have to look like it's gone much higher, but it just starts going 1 trillion.
Well, I'm just talking about actually looking at price levels on that regression.
The question's always going to land. The only way that it goes to whatever level is who's going to buy. Who's going to buy Bitcoin to take it to 5 million? That's the question, because ultimately that's the only way it gets to 5 mil, right?
You know what?
Someone's buying it for 5 million.
It totally go to millions. I just mean in terms of notional value compared to today. I don't think it ever goes to 3 million. But
here's the thing: if it exists,
are you talking about divided by like the money supply? Basically?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, like the S&P isn't really
divided by M2 now. That's a totally different story.
If we divide it by M2, with non-divided by M2, never goes to 3 million. With with the debt like crisis, like sure, like the dollar could devalue to the point where it's worth 3 million. Totally.
You just reminded me of a really cool chart I want to share. I mean, who knows? We're playing pie in the sky here. I guess the point is,
it's the treasury bonds one, isn't it? That's the chart you want to share?
No, it's the US 30. So it's like the top 30 US stocks. So it's basically like your SPX versus Bitcoin.
But have you seen BTC denominated in treasury bonds?
I have not yet.
It's breaking towards all-time highs right now.
Nice. Well, this one, I don't have that up. If you tell me the tickers, or we can take screen share to yours. But I wanted to bring this up because it is so much cleaner. Like from a TA perspective, that 12K level on Bitcoin that everyone wanted to see because technically it needed to be retested. It got the retest when you're thinking about Bitcoin trading against the S&P index, or in this case, the US 30. Which just is like S&P, I guess, without the noise or whatever. But it's just a really clean bit of TA, and it's coming into strong resistance, but it's looking strong.
I shared the tweet in the chart. Check out. That'll get you all riled up.
Let's see. Denominated in treasury bonds. So explain what I'm looking at here for me.
You're looking at Bitcoin divided by U.S. treasury bonds on average.
So the value of the bonds,
just if the
which has been going down, if I'm correct, right?
With bonds,
yeah. Well, that's kind of where I was going to end that comment about Bitcoin being worth millions. Is that I don't know where Bitcoin's going. It just has to exist, and it will naturally always trend up versus dollars because dollars only trend down. That's kind of the smart ass ending to that comment, which is like, simply to exist is to be worth more in the future if you denominate it in the US dollar.
But surely, I mean, is the logic correct to say that because there's how many trillions of dollars are there in circulation at the moment, or / debt? 33 trillion?
M2 money supply. There is 20,000 billions, so that's 20 trillion.
So there's $20 trillion currently in circulation. Is it correct to make the assumption that if there are more dollars, then surely the price of Bitcoin should also go up as a measure of inflation? Or is that incorrect?
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Sure. Yeah. It's very possible that the dollar could devalue so much, we could print so much, that Bitcoin is no more valuable than it is today, but is still worth $3 million. But not worth barrels of oil or years of coal.
But at the rate at which the money printing is going at the moment of $1 trillion every 6 weeks or whatever the case might be, surely then ultimately RT might end up being correct.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
What were you going to say? To be clear, it's not really my thesis. It's like one that I'm ascribing to that I've heard repeated.
That's yours now,
you
dude.
Came up with it, dude.
It's mine.
As far as I'm concerned, it's yours. So
Chewbacca, what were you going to say?
I mean, I think what we're really kind of talking about is trying to imagine like how much it's going to outpace the level of inflation based on the adoption curve. And, I think that, that could probably last 10 years, but, we could actually get a actual Bitcoin increasing in value, not just divided by the money supply, for a decade. But, beyond that, then we're just another gold, in my opinion.
I kind of agree there. Yeah. I think we've got like maybe 2 cycles left before we're really like sort of sideways in real value.
I think we're here.
Yeah, no shit, dude.
That's seriously though, like crypto adoption. I think that's where you've got to put us. Where would you put us? You think we're up here? Nobody knows about fucking crypto.
Line,
how many years is that line?
You have no idea how many motherfuckers don't even know Bitcoin exists right now. They think it died 2 years ago.
All right, if the y-axis here, the y is vertical, right? If the vertical axis here is all the people in the world, no. But if the vertical axis is all the people who will get into crypto, maybe.
Oh, you think like we're peaked and that we're up here, but that's just because there's never going to be more than this many people who give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's so many interesting parts of this conversation, but here's the next bit. Okay, maybe we're up here for people who want to go learn how the hell to use a private key and a public key, but we are definitely not up here for the number of people who will end up using something that is powered by crypto blockchain without even knowing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the more important conversation. We don't need grandma to go and get a ledger and sign up and buy some Bitcoin and move it to her cold storage. We need grandma to open
super
up
cool
her
apps.
remittance
Guess
app
what, guys?
and send for 10 cents in 4 seconds.
Guess what, guys? Before I went on holiday, I interviewed a very interesting individual. He's actually one of the founders of Unstoppable. They're basically just a perp dex. They want to build a wallet that does not include keys, and they figured out a way where you can actually have a wallet that is prescribed to your CPU on your PC. So, and no one will ever be able to hack that. It's like it's unhackable because you're using the 128-bit encryption through your CPU, and it's like you don't need fucking any of that shit. So they've solved that problem, and that's just where we're going to get to, right? So I agree with RT. We are definitely at the bottom of this thing in terms of mass adoption. Sure, in terms of all the fucking autists and freaks that are here at the moment, we're probably at the top. But we don't really matter.
Meme coin adoption is like over here.
Hey, Chewbacca, I dropped a tweet in the chat for you that I thought you'd like.
I don't want to see it.
Is this safe for the stream?
Yeah, it's safe for the stream. Okay. Unless you're a big Bankless fan.
So I think we should call it, but before we call it, do you think we keep on going up, or do you think we go back down to the gallows?
I don't think we go back to the gallows.
We're below Monday high, so what more evidence do you need?
So you think we've hit top now? Have we hit local top now, Toasty?
No, I
please
really have no opinion.
State your preferred time frame when you answer and ask questions on this stream, because the captain of the 5-minute patrol is probably looking bearish today.
No,
how did you know I was on the 5-minute?
I'm talking for the next few months at least, like the next 3 months. What do you see playing out? Do you see that 40% correction, Toasty? You've pretty much stated it.
I can't. I have an open bet with the MG, so I have to believe it's going to happen. I can't be like, oh no.
So your bias is now the bias of this question. Okay, fine. JB, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're closer to a top than we are the low before the bull. Before like the bull market like really starts. So, I think we'll see. we'll see correction. We're not out of the woods of pain yet. There'll be a good chance to allocate, but I'm not expecting like Nuke City tomorrow or anything.
No. RT,
I am going to remain staunchly bullish while we are trading inside of this range or above it. I will become cautious, in the upper bounds of this range, and I will, I'm not leveraging long anything even here. Zoomed in, I just don't see anything I like. I think the correction that Satoshi is talking about could very well happen, and it could, excuse my art here, but it could look something like this. There's your correction.
Leave it there, dude. Lock it.
Like I think that there's no, situation where we can't just both be correct, in the sense that you're going to get a big FU correction before or sometime. Like, I think the happening actually happens all the way over here. So, I think we could get a massive correction. It doesn't make any sense technically, which is how I trade typically, to be anything but bullish now that we've reclaimed this massive like bull market range. I just can't do it.
Okay, so my thoughts are that, kind of like diplomatically tie this all together, is that I do believe that the ETF is very much the catalyst that is doing this abnormal thing that we're seeing right now. And we haven't stated it, but we all know it. So I just thought I'd state the obvious. That's what's going on, guys. This ETF is driving this abnormal behavior, because normally
Larry is shilling our bags.
100%, dude. And what's happening is that in the past, what happened is that come December, January, we see that nuke before halvening, and then from January we go into like a little bit of an alt season, and then Bitcoin starts doing its thing sort of like right before the halvening. And I think I believe the ETF is going to drive this thing. It's going to be a grind, maybe not such a slow grind up, but it's going to be up, and then it's going to find a place where it's not happy. We're going to have a bit of a correction. It's going to come down. I don't think it's going to be as much as 40, but I think it's going to scare the shit out of a lot of people, and then everyone's going to go full fucking retard PTSD, call it what you want. And then they're going to get sidelined, and then we're going to have this FOMO thing. And I think what's going to happen with the halvening is that it's going to be a significant one, and it's going to be hard and fast.
Wait,
that's my
you mean it's going to more than half?
No, it won't more than half. I think the behavior around it is going to be more than half. I think people are going to really love it so much that it's going to go full mental.
We are above the Gann horizontal, the first one on this chart. We just kind of reclaimed it, tested it, and we're moving higher. So I've got to remain bullish.
Definitely bullish.
We're above this bottom cycling range that I just said, cycle bottoming range. Where I kind of said if we trade above that, I'm just back in. So spot wise, I got back in around like 31. Not perfect, but
sick entry.
It's the plan that I had, right? So in the meantime, and I don't usually do this, but I'm going to share a sneak peek at the TRI breadth indicator, because I think it's about to make a signal. I'm not going to share this much. Usually it's going to be well after the fact, but the last buy signal.
I'm telling Brian, dude.
I know. He's probably watching. He's like,
Brian.
yeah, get him.
I'm texting Brian right now.
They sell this thing, dude. So I think any mentions I get on here are probably helpful. But it's October 13th was the buy signal, which was like fucking gorgeous. I mean, it was just before the breakout. It was literally like 12 hours before the breakout started. Now, the way this works is this red moving average goes high and eventually crosses back down, and that's your sell signal. So the sell signal we thought might come in last night, but there was a little rally last night. It looks like it's destined to come in. We have not seen it trending like this overbought since the bot, the algo started running. So with that in mind, and today's price action being a little bit down, I do think we'll cross bear, get a sell signal tonight. And I imagine for me, that's just a cool my jet signal. I'd like to see it back to oversold, crossing bull, essentially another thing like we got October 13th. And so in the absence of new news around the ETF, I imagine that's what we'll get. So very possible. I don't like, and then I look at this chart and I'm like, yeah, well, let's just go like straight up from here. But I can only trade in the direction of that algo. That's my rule. And I think it's about to flip bear. So I'll probably just be like chilling out, not trading too much through this range, whatever dip it might have. But yeah, it's got to be up from here. I'd be shocked. And then I'm wrong if we trade back out of that range. Then we're wrong in a big way and we go run home.
Yeah, what you said about the amount of excitement and just the amount of bullishness in the space, and kind of BlackRock and the ETF being, you know, the reason we're trading at these levels. You know, we're about there was a time in April where total made a high right around the time that a friend of the show said everything sends together, and that was it. And we went down and then we came back up. Now we're trading above that level. That level is 1.36% higher than the previous peak on total, which means about 20 billion more cash floating around in the market. And I gotta believe that that's not yet enough for me, right? Like 1.36%. It's like, yeah, well, everyone's capitulated into full bulltard. So it's like, that's what I
have they though.
Crypto native. Yeah, dude. There's
there's a lot of names on there and they're probably being real public about it, but I still feel I'll tell you this, there are groups I'm in that are just ghastly quiet right now because they're all fucking sidelined. They're probably quietly shorting. They're beating themselves up. I don't think everyone's flip bull yet at all. I think you're going to hear more and more each week, but I'm challenging your assumption that everyone's flipped bull because
one thing,
you know,
listen,
I see a small group of loud bulls and I see a swath of quiet ex bulls.
There's generally some people who are early in many ways. And right now, generally the people that I'm seeing quite bullish are generally the ones that are early. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not saying that I'm early. I'm not, by no means am I putting myself in that category. I think I just got lucky with this one, but I just generally feel like it's an early call. And I think
what we can say to cap it all off is that when Archie quits crypto to go do something ridiculous like sports, you just buy everything.
Buy everything.
Everything.
I want to fucking cry about the timing of that. Like, not because it's like, oh, I could have just been buying things and then going in sports betting, but I was literally like, I'm going to do what I can to not trade and overtrade until trading conditions return. And really, it turned out to be the last tiny little 3-week consolidation before what we have now, which could be the end of what we have now, or could be the beginning of a
when RT rage quits, the fundamentals are in the process of improving.
Yeah. To be clear, it wasn't rage quitting. I just really like gambling and I wanted to do something other than not trade, which is what I was doing at the time. So go fuck yourself, you bully.
This is like
I didn't know if we were gonna get the margarine or the fucking butter. I see we got the soy margarine today.
I'm just messing around.
I gotta run though. It is we're at the 3 p.m. mark home locally, and I got a meeting. But
cool, boys.
With that, I'm gonna go to bully awareness and
well done to all the manlets out there. Don't forget to extend.
Congratulations to the manlets.
Congrats
and
to the
don't
soul
forget,
bro.
Manlets, to be kind to the Ethereums, and Ethereums be kind to the manlets. We can make money on both sides of the fence, you fools.
No, we can't.
And as long as Bitcoin is trading in previous bull market range, which it now is, let's just have fun. You know, let's just get out there and have fun.
Hey, we're at Monday High. I'm shorting. I'll see you guys out there.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
It is.